Hello, I'm Brian Downs, and I'm here with some advice for Shadowrun game masters, or game masters of any role-playing game. Match your campaign to your players, and match it to their characters. It's shocking how often I see this not being done, especially with less experienced game masters. Now, what do I mean when I say match it to the players? Match it to the players' interests and identities. Okay, first is setting. Shadowrun, of course, is set in a version of our own world, a future cyberpunk dystopia with lots of Tolkien in it. So it's easy to set your Shadowrun game, to set the campaign in the same place you're playing it. The game I'm running right now is set in Central Florida because I live in Central Florida. My players enjoy running under Mickey Mouse's panopticon. If you happen to be in Glasgow, set your campaign in Scotland. If you happen to be in Dusseldorf, set your campaign in Germany. The players will get a kick out of that, seeing familiar landmarks and so on. And being a native of whatever region, you'll be in a good place to create a Shadowrun version of it with the same local flavor. You don't have to do this, of course, but it's a common tactic. Match the game to your players' interests. If one of your players has a master's degree in art history, then make a series of missions that revolve around stealing, retrieving, or protecting valuable or famous paintings or artists. If a couple of your players are big basketball fans, then create adventures with a famous basketball player who needs kidnapped or blackmailed or injured or protected from any of those things. Obviously, professional sports, there's a lot of money involved in the real world and in the Shadowrun universe. Lots of opportunities for corporate espionage and shenanigans. If you have an animal lover in the party, make an adventure about a gunslinger adept who wants revenge because they stomped on his hamster. Right? Match elements of your game to the interests of your players. I ran a Vampire the Masquerade 20th Anniversary Edition game some time ago, and I set it in occupied Paris. Every one of my players was some variety of LGBT. So I created a plot line where they were assigned by their vampire masters to follow and surveil a particular Nazi administrator, someone who made trains run on time in the occupying government. Their vampire masters wanted information on this person in order to blackmail him, control him, manipulate him, gain information from him. So my players followed him around for a little while and found him going into a secret club, and it turns out, of course, to be an LGBT-themed club in occupied Paris, an underground operation. Right. I wanted to match my players' identities and interests to what was happening in the game. I wanted to create an ethical quandary. This man is a Nazi administrator, but he's also gay. Are we willing to use that on him? Well, when my players found out that that guy was gay, their reaction was, "We own this son of a bitch now," which surprised me. But you see how much fun this kind of thing can be. You also want to match your campaign to the characters. Not the players, but the characters. I advise you to design your campaign after the players have been created. You might have a basic idea, the campaign's set in Hong Kong and it's going to involve a lot of street gangs. But then get your players to create their characters and look at those characters. It's a common misconception, for example, that you need a varied Shadowrun team. You need one of these and one of those and one of those on the team, but that's not true. If the players want to be three faces and a mage, then you are going to design adventures where social engineering is the answer. If you've got 4 street samurai and a rigger, then you need to come up with some excuses for gunfights. The writers of the Fast and Furious franchise create problems that Dominic Toretto can drive out of. The writers of James Bond movies create problems where martinis and supermodels are the answer. That's what you're going to do as the game master. Let the players be anything they want. If they all want to be Deckers, do that. And then match the game to that. Create problems that your player characters want to solve. When a player comes to you with a Decker, for example, it should be immediately clear that they want to solve problems through computer crime. So put problems in front of them that are solved that way. If a player comes to you with an adept who has a bunch of stealth and close combat. They want to be springing out of the shadows at people, so make that possible. It's not hard to understand what they were imagining when they made the character. It's right there in the numbers. Match it to what they wanted. You can also do this culturally, incidentally. I ran a game not too long ago, a Shadowrun game, that was both set and played in Central Florida, and 2 of my players were bilingual Latinos. They both chose to play bilingual Latino characters, so I made sure that there were a number of Latino NPCs for them to interact with. In fact, there was one major NPC, Concepcion Sinaloa, who was a through line throughout the campaign, and a special friend of one of my players. This kind of thing is going to raise player engagement a lot, right? Make sure that you're matching the player's interests, the player's identities, and the character's specializations to the adventures you're creating. Too often you see pre-generated adventures that fall flat because they're obviously not tailored to the individual team or the individual players, and they just come off as generic. If you use these tactics, you're going to get a lot more player engagement and have much more success in your game mastering.